Welcome to our book, Open Book. Very good to be with you tonight. Diana Lynch, Andrea Susan K. Richards, Joanne. Five Things I've Learned. Mark Nerker, Rita Mullen, Barbara Skilly, Laurie McDowell, Diana Lynch, S.R. O'Brien, Joan Denny, Rhonda Scott Marak, Lucy Fellows. Very good to be with all of you tonight. By the way, we have been in touch several times with Jen Phillips. We had all those technical problems the other night. She is very good-spirited about everything, and we will get her back soon. We just wasn't able to do it tonight. Well, thank you. Nice of you to say that, Diana Lynch. Caroline called to my attention today that it is Philip Roth's birthday. I brought down Goodbye Columbus and his first short stories. Look at what a young man he was.
I believe he was teaching in Chicago.
Yep. So, however, I came across once more his Paris Review interview today, and I'm going to read from that because I found myself really arrested by it. So let me just start reading from that. Lots of writerly stuff here. Lots of good tips.
We like that.
Paris Review says we met in the early summer of 1983 at the Royal Automobile Club in Pall Mall, where Roth occasionally takes a room to work when he's visiting England. The room had been turned into a small, meticulously organized office. IBM golf ball typewriter, alphabetical file folders, angle poised lamps, dictionaries, aspirin copy holder, felt tip pens for correcting a radio. With a few books on the mantelpiece. We talked in this business-like cell for a day and a half, pausing only for meals. I was looked after with great thoughtfulness. Roth's manner, which matches his appearance, subdued, conventional clothes, gold-rimmed spectacles, the look of a quiet, professional American visitor to London, perhaps an academic or a lawyer, was courteous, mild, and responsive. He listens carefully to everything. And Mark Nerker? That's the mark of a great interview. But I digress. Makes lots of quick jokes.
Hey, have you already stolen the pen you've given me?
It looks like it, but
Look at this
I
beautiful
borrowed
pen.
it. I got it for Caroline.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the tradition in our family is that Scott buys a pen for himself and I steal it. So it's okay.
We're both
You borrow it.
we're both using it.
I believe it's called Steal Me, Sweet Pea.
Yes.
Oh,
It's an aria.
all right. Sorry.
It's a very spring-themed pen.
Spring theme. So, Paris Review says, how do you get started on a book? Philip Roth says, beginning a book is unpleasant. I'm entirely uncertain about the character and the predicament, and a character and his predicament is what I have to begin with. Worse than not knowing your subject is not knowing how to treat it, because that's finally everything. Now listen to this. I type out beginnings, and they're awful. More of an unconscious parody of my previous book than the breakaway from it that I want. I need something driving down the center of a book, a magnet to draw everything in. That's what I look for during the first months of writing something new. I often have to write 100 pages or more before there's a paragraph that's alive. Wow. Okay, I say to
Wait, did
myself.
he say 100 pages?
Yeah.
I hope he wasn't stealing anyone's pen.
Well, that's why his marriage to Claire Bloom broke up. I'm sure her picture is up in here. That's when I look for writing. Okay, I say to myself, that's your beginning. Start there. That's the first paragraph of the book. I'll go over the first 6 months of work and underline in red a paragraph, a sentence, something no more than a phrase that's some life in it, and then I'll type all these out on one page. Usually, it doesn't come to more than one page, but if I'm lucky, that's the start of page 1. I look for the liveliness to set the tone. After that awful beginning comes the months of play, and after the play comes the crisis, turning against your material and hating the book. How much of a book is in your mind before you start? Well, what matters most isn't there at all. I don't mean the solutions to problems, I mean the problems. You're looking as you begin for what's going to resist you. You're looking for trouble. Sometimes in the beginning, uncertainty arises not because the writing's difficult, but because it isn't difficult enough. Fluency can be a sign that nothing is happening, can actually be a signal to stop. Well, being in the dark from sentence to sentence is what gets me to go on. Must you have a beginning? Would you ever begin with an ending? Philip Roth says, for all I know, I am beginning with the ending. My page 1 can wind up a year later as page 200, if it's even still around. What happens to those 100 or so pages you have left over? I generally prefer not to see them again. Do you work best at any particular time of day? Philip Roth says, I work all day, morning and afternoon, just about every day. If I sit there like that for 2 or 3 years, at the end of it, I have a book. Do you think other writers work such long hours? And Roth says, I don't ask writers about their work habits. I really don't care. Joyce Carol Oates says somewhere that when writers ask each other what time they start working and when they finish and how much time they take for lunch, they're actually trying to find out, is he as crazy as I am? Well, I don't need that question answered. Do you show your work in progress to anyone? Philip Roth says it's more useful for my mistakes to ripen and burst in their own good time. I give myself all the opposition I need while writing, and praise is meaningless to me when I know something isn't even half finished. Nobody sees what I'm doing until I absolutely can't go any further. Do you have a Roth reader in mind when you write? No, occasionally I have an anti-Roth reader in mind. I think, how he is going to hate this. And that can be just the encouragement I need. You spoke of the last phase of writing a novel as being a crisis in which you turn against the material. Is there always this crisis with every book? Philip Roth says, always. Months of looking at the manuscript and saying, this is wrong, but what's wrong? I ask myself, if this book were a dream, it would be a dream of what? But when I'm asking this, I'm also trying to believe in what I've written, to forget that it's writing, and to say this has taken place, even if it hasn't. The idea is to perceive your invention as a reality that can be understood as a dream. The idea is to turn flesh and blood into literary characters, and literary characters into flesh and blood. Didn't mean to distract people.
With a purloined pen.
Purloined pen. Philip Roth says, I come from a small, safe, relatively happy provincial background. My Newark neighborhood in the 30s and 40s was just a Jewish Terre Haute. And I'd absorbed, along with the ambition and drive, the fears and phobias of my generation of American and Jewish children. In my early 20s, I wanted to prove to myself I wasn't afraid of all those things. It wasn't a mistake to want to prove that, even though, after the ball was over, I was virtually unable to write for 3 or 4 years. From 1962 to 1967 is the longest I've gone without a book. The image that teased me during those years was of a train that had been shunted onto the wrong track. In my early 20s, I had been zipping right along there, on schedule, express stops only, final destination clearly in mind. Then suddenly, I was on the wrong track, speeding off into the wilds. I'd ask myself, how the hell do you get this thing back on the right track? Well, you can't. I've continued to be surprised over the years whenever I discover myself late at night pulling into the wrong station. But not getting back on the same track was a great thing for you, presumably, says the Paris Review. Roth says, John Berryman said that for a writer, any ordeal that doesn't kill him is terrific. The fact that his ordeal did finally kill him doesn't make what he was saying wrong. Paris Review says, you've been talking to the opposition to Portnoy's complaint, but what about the recognition? How did its enormous success affect you? Philip Roth says, it was too big, on a large and much crazier scale than I could begin to deal with, so I took off. A few weeks after publication, I boarded a bus at the Port Authority terminal for Saratoga Springs and just holed up at Yaddo, the writers' colony. Paris Review asks, do you dislike New York? No, I lived there from 1962 until I moved to the country after Portnoy's complaint. I wouldn't trade those years for anything. New York gave me Portnoy's complaint. When I was living and teaching in Iowa City and Princeton, I didn't ever feel so free as I did in New York in the 60s. To indulge myself in comic performance on paper and with friends, there was raucous evenings in New York, uncensored shamelessness in my psychoanalytic sessions. What? There was this dramatic, stagey atmosphere of the city in the years after Kennedy's assassination. All of this inspired me to try out a new voice, a fourth voice. That gave me a few ideas for my act. The interviewer asked, remember this is 1983, did you feel you were part of what was going on in the 60s? Philip Roth said, I felt the power of life around me. I believed myself to be feeling the full consciousness of the place, this time New York, really for the first time since childhood. I was also, like others, receiving a stunning education in moral, political, and cultural possibilities from the country's eventful public life and from what was happening in Vietnam. How do you think you have influenced the environment, the culture, as a writer? Do you think he says?
Enormously.
He says not at all.
That's what he says.
That's what he said, but that's what he would say. If I had followed my early college plans to become an attorney, I don't see where it would matter to the culture. Do you say that with bitterness or with glee? Philip Roth says neither. It's a fact of life. In an enormous commercial society that demands complete freedom of expression, the culture is a maw. Recently, the first American novelist to receive a special Congressional Gold Medal for his contribution to the nation was Louis L'Amour. Great popular novelist. It was presented to him at the White House by the president. The only other country in the world where such a writer would receive his government's highest award is the Soviet Union. Well, France, too, right?
I think at the time.
Yeah, all right. In a totalitarian state, however, all culture is dictated by the regime. Fortunately, we in America live in Reagan's and not Plato's Republic. And aside from their stupid medal, culture is almost entirely ignored, and that is preferable by far. As long as those on top keep giving the honors to Louis L'Amour and couldn't care less about anything else, everything will be fine. And mind you, this is 1983, before the...
He did say, "Make America Great."
Well, this is before the block. This is before the block came down. The Berlin Wall came down in the Eastern Bloc.
And they did that again.
Philip Roth says, when I was first in Czechoslovakia, it occurred to me that I work in a society where, as a writer, everything goes and nothing matters. While for the Czech writers I met in Prague, nothing goes and everything matters. This isn't to say I wish to change places. I didn't envy them their persecution and the way in which it heightens their social importance. I didn't even envy them their seemingly more valuable and serious themes. The trivialization in the West of much that's deadly serious in the East is itself a subject, one requiring considerable imaginative ingenuity to transform into compelling fiction. To write a serious book that doesn't signal its seriousness with rhetorical cues or thematic gravity that's traditionally associated with seriousness, well, that's a worthy undertaking. Paris Review asks, but do you feel powerless as a writer? in America. Philip Roth says, writing novels is not the road to power. I do not believe in my society that novels effect serious changes in anyone other than the handful of people who are writers, whose own novels are, of course, seriously affected by other novelists' novels. I can't see anything like that happening to the ordinary reader, nor would I expect it to. Paris Review asks, the question of the night, everybody. What do novels do then? Philip Roth says, to the ordinary reader, novels provide them with something to read.
Which is important.
Told you he was brilliant. Yes. This is before, doom scrolling and stuff. That's, pardon me?
Just doom reading.
Yeah, doom reading. That seems to me the only realistic expectation, and it also seems to me to be quite enough. Reading novels is a deep and singular pleasure, a gripping and mysterious human activity that does not require any moral or political justification.
Oh, that's lovely.
Isn't that good?
I like that. You interviewed him when he retired.
I interviewed him when he retired, and he told me about the creative power of naps, something I've learned about.
Oh, and you've quoted this a lot.
Yeah. It's a way of rearranging the scramble in your brain.
But part of what he talked
It was with our good friend Ben Taylor.
Yes, who wrote a lovely book. I think it's called The Way, about their friendship that he wrote after he passed away. It's a lovely book. But also, I think he told you he was retiring because of just how hard he had worked on writing. As we read and as you just in the Paris Review interview.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
do you have a favorite of his books?
The Plot Against America.
Amen.
Yeah, I think The Plot Against America. If I can remember the favorite, it's not like
having a favorite child.
It's not like The Apprenticeship of Judy Kravitz. It's not like but it's I think that's my favorite. I like Goodbye Columbus. I think Goodbye Columbus is quite good. I never quite got into Portnoy's Complaint. There were parts that Billy Levitt and I would read to each other because they were so totally outrageous. But so brilliant man. So I'm so glad we could do that. Thanks very much for being with us tonight in our open book. Tomorrow night. Oh, I can't believe it's Friday already.
The weeks just swing by.
My gosh. It was that massive storm which began the week. That's actually going to be my essay.
Yes.
People, that Matthew Capucci.
Yes.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Yes, he's wonderful. He is one of the best meteorologists we've ever had.
Except he got this storm wrong. But God bless him.
Not all the way wrong.
He shut down an entire city.
Yeah.
And then Calvert County,
all right, there was a tornado.
There was a tornado in the DMV.
Yeah.
They say in Calvert County, there is a tornado here. Hey, that's not a bad song, is it? You'll either be a tornado weatherman or a Stanford J.H. Blair.
Look at him go.
What's the weather now? Sorry. I can't believe I'm doing this. All right, so thanks very much for being with us tonight on our open book. Happy birthday, Philip Roth. See you tomorrow for your for our promo, I hope. Take care. Bye-bye.
That is a great